Long after the flood, God chose a man named Abram, who later would be called Abraham. Abram lived in a land called Ur, where people worshipped many false gods. One day, the one true God spoke to Abram and gave him a powerful command and a beautiful promise. God told him to leave his home, his family, and everything familiar, and to go to a land that God would show him. God promised Abram that he would make him into a great nation. God said Abram's descendants would be many, and that through his family, all nations of the earth would be blessed. Abram trusted God. Without knowing exactly where he was going, he obeyed. He gathered his wife Sarai, his belongings, and set out on a long journey, guided only by faith in God's word. As the years passed, Abraham followed God, but the promise of a child seemed impossible. Abraham and Sarah grew very old, and they still had no children. Yet God remained faithful. At the right time, God gave them a son named Isaac, a child of promise. Isaac was a gift of joy and proof that nothing is too hard for God. Then came Abraham's greatest test of faith. God asked Abraham to take Isaac, his beloved son, to a mountain and offer him as a sacrifice. Though his heart was heavy and confused, Abraham trusted God completely. He believed that God would somehow provide. Abraham and Isaac climbed the mountain together, and when the moment came, God stopped Abraham's hand. God provided a ram to take Isaac's place on the altar. God saw Abraham's obedience and declared his faith strong and true. God renewed his promise, blessing Abraham and confirming that his descendants would be as countless as the stars in the sky. Through Abraham's life, God showed that faith means trusting him fully even when the path is unclear and the sacrifice feels great. Moral lesson: the story of Abraham teaches us that true faith begins with obedience. Abraham left everything familiar because he trusted God's promise. This reminds us that faith often requires stepping into the unknown, believing that God will guide us even when we cannot see the full picture. Abraham's long wait for a child shows us the importance of patience. God's promises are not always fulfilled immediately, but they are always fulfilled at the right time. Waiting does not mean God has forgotten. It means He is working. The sacrifice of Isaac teaches us complete trust and surrender. Abraham was willing to give up what he loved most, believing that God was faithful and good. This shows us that God desires our hearts more than anything else. This story also reminds us that God is our provider. Just as God provided a ram in place of Isaac, He provides what we need at the right moment. When we trust Him, He makes a way where there seems to be none. Finally, Abraham's faith encourages us to believe that God can do the impossible. Through faith, Abraham became the father of many nations. His story reminds us that when we trust God fully, our lives can become part of a greater plan that blesses others far beyond ourselves.